of the Uncrowned Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Batiste or JB Motivation, here again with my co host, Chaz. Chaz, welcome back. Today, Chaz, you got another topic for us. Let's see if you can remember it.
So we I guess you came to me this time and said that you wanted to discuss the lack of men wanting to commit to marriage and you know
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because I sent you a Facebook post.
yeah.
I remember that now. So, for those of you that don't know, and I'm not going to publicly disclose said Facebook, it was on a marriage Facebook group that I'm in, and I don't want to name names. That's not my business to start sharing other people's stuff. But basically, it said, "I left my boyfriend of 3 years because he hasn't popped the question yet. What gives?" And the comments section was 95% of women basically being like, "You go, girl. You showed him. Know your worth. Dot 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 dot." And about there was a few guys that are like, "Yay, go you." Okay, you simps. And then there's a couple guys where it's like, if it worked, if it works, it works. Like, why? I don't get it. And a lot of it kind of boiled down to a couple things, right? One, men should know what they want really early on, and if they're just dragging you along, go and find someone that won't drag you along, or you're not the one he really wants, otherwise he would have married you already. And it was very superficial. There's a lot more that goes into it, right? Than just, oh, if he wanted to, he would, honey. And I wanted to kind of dive into that of like, all right, ladies, if your man's waiting, or if there really isn't, if it's working, it's working. And granted, everyone has the reasons. Everyone is in a different situation, right? And especially nowadays, a big argument for, especially the, I don't want to say the manosphere, but men in society right now is it really worth it? That's a hard question.
Yeah, I wouldn't even stop there because honestly, you got a new trend coming out, and I guess it's not exactly new anymore. It's been a couple of years where people aren't proving themselves to a relationship anymore. They feel like being in it is enough to be part of it. So, like in the women's cases towards men, it's you're lucky you have me. And you see a lot of that. Like, I am the prize. However, when you reverse that, you'll never see a man saying, I am the prize. You'll see a man saying, oh, I do, X, Y, and Z for you to show you that, I bring more than just me.
Right.
Um,
And it's so funny that you say that because I saw a video, and granted, like, no one should be considered the prize in the relationship, because then you're putting one person's, I guess, entire existence or value um higher than your own, right? So that's the idea of like putting someone on a pedestal. No one should really be above somebody else. But it was the video that really kind of put it in perspective, right? Where it was, the woman's like, "Yeah, I'm the prize. I picked him over all these other men and everything." And the guy was like, "Really?" Because flip it in reverse, men don't really have a lot of options. So if he chose you, how did you do you get what I'm saying? I feel like I'm not wording it right because I don't have the video right in front of me. Where
I
where am I
wasn't,
going with this?
I haven't seen that video, but it goes right down the line that when it comes down to it, men aren't
Oh,
choosing
oh,
from a
that
plethora of women.
that right, that's what it was. She had all these men, right? And she chose him. Wouldn't that make him the prize? Because if he didn't have really many options and she was really his only option, he kind of just chose what was there, right? So if he had the same amount of options, the dude basically looked at this woman and said, "Would you have been the best one? Would he have chose you out of all those different options?" And she just kind of sat there and she's like, "Hmm, damn you for making me think."
Yeah, it's real easy to lose sight of the fact that, and I kind of complained about this in the previous, probably last week or the week before, but women don't look at relationships the way they should. They don't look at it like a partnership of I chose you, you chose me, we work together. They look at it as what can I get from you? And obviously it's not all women,
Yeah,
but there is a mass majority going that route.
yeah, and it's a shame that you even have to say, well, not all women, because there's going to be men or women in the comments that go, "I'm not like that. How dare you say?" Okay, then we're not talking about you, honey. Like, sit down, please. Um, but to kind of go back to our original topic, I think we need to address this first and foremost, right? Is marriage even worth it? In my opinion, I am always in favor of the biblical ideology of what marriage should be. That covenant before God that He designed it to be a representation of church and Christ, and it is to do nothing but honor and glorify Him. And the sanctity of marriage is valuable in a God centered relationship. What I think is completely illogical, irrational, and almost pointless is the new ideology of what marriage is, this legal fundamental groundwork that the government is involved in. There's no point.
In the pagan tradition, there's a practice called the word just left. Oh, there's a marriage practice that it's a whole ritual, but fast no, not fasting. Hand fasting? I think it's called hand fasting. It's been a hot minute. But either way, like there's no government involvement. It's literally a ritual of combining two souls into one. And it's not on
Mhm.
paper, it's not by doctrine of man. It's two people confessing to each other that this is who I've picked.
And originally, that's what my wife and I were going to do. We were going to keep all the paperwork out of it. We were, just going to be like, nope, we agree to be with each. Like, it is our own covenant before God. It just happened to be that I get more financial benefit and more security in terms of how I can best support the family if we were legally married. So, push comes to shove, that's what we ended up having to do. But that's not the way that we look at it, right? Under any other circumstances, I would have never have signed any papers. And it's again, women will think that and be like, "Oh, well, then you really didn't love her." No, we agreed. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We committed to this. We did our thing before God. That's it. You know, but when push comes to shove, the way the system is designed is completely one against men, two supports single womanhood, right? Because the government ends up being your baby daddy, and it screws men over in divorces 9 times out of 10. And the few times it doesn't is there's other variables and factors that go into play. I'm not saying 10 times out of 10 the women get screwed over, because there have been some cases where that's not entirely the case, but there's a reason why that's kind of the stereotype. It has become common enough to where that is usually the majority baseline that we can go off of. Doesn't make it any more wrong.
I think to get back to the original, like, is it worth it? Legally, I don't see the value in modern marriage because, like you just outlined, there are multiple things that work against men, and ultimately, a woman can decide you're not worth my time on a whim and come out with so much of who you are, and you have nothing to gain from it as much as like she does. She will walk away with alimony, child support, the house, the car, because the court's always going to favor women because of outdated laws that were put in place to support women back when they didn't have the right to work or the ability to work and support themselves. Here we are in modern
Yeah,
America and modern world where you can do that now and there's no real reason for it.
Yeah, I see videos all the time of like the woman makes, more than the dad sometimes, and she's going after to increase her child support. And I'm sorry, but I don't think child support, one, should be based off of how much the dad makes, but two, definitely needs to get tracked and monitored a lot better. And I get there's other costs that are associated with the kids and everything, but it needs to make sure that it's not going towards alcohol, drugs, nights out, all that stuff. And I've heard arguments up and down. Well, she would already have that money if it weren't for the kids, and it's a whole slew of a mess. But guess what? You wouldn't be in this situation unless there were accentuating circumstances. It always takes two to tango, and there's always going to be that argument of, well, I wouldn't be in this situation if he didn't do this, or I wouldn't be in this situation if she didn't do that. At the end of the day, I mean, we've talked about this before. That dynamic wouldn't have been a problem if y'all just lived to serve each other.
There's a lot of
Which
opportunities
again,
there.
you can right, but you can do that without signing any papers. So, for instance, like what sucks is you're right. It could be at a moment's notice. And a lot of times, men won't really pull that trigger because they know there's a good chance that they're going to lose. That's not a risk that they're willing to take. It is a lot easier for a woman to check out and be like, nah, I'm good. Bye. Because what does she have to lose? There are very few cases where it turns out bad for them whatsoever. I've heard a lot of stories of my friends being like, "Oh yeah, we're not getting married because she's getting more support from the government than we would be if we were married." Why is that? Why is that a situation? Why is that a case? Why aren't we cultivating a culture that promotes the nuclear family? We wonder why divorce rates are so high. We've made it too easy.
It's become a cash grab. Honestly, the government came up with the rules that it does, and I think maybe in earnest in the beginning, but once they found out that it was an ability for them to grab extra money out of family homes outside of taxes, well, financing separation was absolutely worth it.
And honestly, at the end of the day, all it does is it hurts the culture. It hurts the kids if kids are involved. Um, again, I align with more biblical standpoint, right? There is no such thing as divorce unless your partner passes away or is unfaithful or right. The Bible outlines there is no divorce unless X, Y, and Z happens. If X, Y, and Z happens, and you want to get a divorce, then it's okay. Other than that, suck it up, Buttercup. You chose who you chose.
And on that note, I think honestly that if we were to take the government out of it, and a lot of people, even men, I have this argument with, we need to take the government out of it. Like child support, alimonies, that all needs to go away. The rules are archaic and no longer apply for the reasoning, and people need to be responsible for their decisions. They need to make better decisions and stop choosing people based on looks or money or like we just saw not too long ago where women got caught targeting high level men in like football and basketball and going in to get married on the idea that they were going to get divorced just as soon as they qualified for those benefits.
Hmm. Yeah, it's all a giant grab of superficial security. But that's great. You might get the money out of it, cool, but you are going to be an empty shell of a person. And especially if you develop that track record, good luck finding anyone else that wants anything to do with you.
I used to I used to be okay with child support as a system because my mother was a benefactor of child support, and she told me that it came out. for all the expenses such as the milks, the cereals, the heat, the clothing, and she got to spend it however she wanted because she had already spent that money and she was just reimbursing what she had to spend but honestly, these costs would have existed without me. The
Mhm.
fact that she chose to have me with a man who didn't last, that shouldn't be a cause of, well, we're just going to go ahead and take money from him. And I'm not saying this in support of my dad. I'm just saying this in the context of the conversation.
Well, right. No, and especially like, why is it that a majority of women that I've seen, at least, right? I've seen case after case of where it's they can only survive because of the alimony and child support. Whereas my dad raised me for quite a bit of time, and my mom didn't pay it. She had to get taken to court to pay, I think, like $46 a month, maybe. And that wasn't when I was in high school. Like, we just figured out. There is no if we don't have the money to get our hair did and our nails done or whatever, we don't do it. It is what it is. And I know for a fact there are a lot of women that are gonna see this and be like, "Well, I did everything myself and I didn't have no support." Okay, good, awesome. There are certain situations where it's like if the husband passed or something were to happen where you got put in a very unfortunate situation, that sucks. I'm sorry. You know, life happens sometimes. Way to step up. Good job. But if it's the case of like, I did everything myself, my baby dad is a POS, or my whatever's a POS and a deadbeat, or this, that, the other. Was he like that before you slept with him? Yeah. And you expected anything differently after? Like, let's think about this just a little bit. He was a douche or a playboy. He was a player or he was a drug dealer, addict, whatever. And you expected him to act any differently afterwards, which kudos to those who do, right? Up, I'm having a kid. I have to straighten out my life. Right? Some of them that is a wake-up call. But you can't expect that to be the wake-up call. My mom didn't have that wake-up call after she had me. She looked at me and said, "Okay, there you go to my dad." So she can keep doing what she was doing.
So outside of that, look at the other movements that are taking place right now. With the election results, you have women now advocating for divorce of men simply because they support a presidency that offers strength based on the last presidency over a woman who, in her career or in California, proved that she has no ability to be an honest politician.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think there is a lot of indoctrination that has been taking place over the generations that have cultivated this mindset instead of simply just being with someone because you love them and you're going to support each other regardless of whatever. It has now turned into a well, what if you leave? Well, what if you leave? What if you do this? What if you do? Well, I need to make sure that I'm okay and you need to make sure that you're. How about y'all just shut the hell up, communicate, and work together like you said you were going to do? I think everyone is so worried right now of getting backstabbed or either everyone's so focused on the negative aspects of what could happen instead of focusing on the positive aspects of what could happen, right? Oh, what if he doesn't do this? What if he leaves me? What if he doesn't support the kids? What if she doesn't do this? What? Well, guess what? Shut up. How about you do a better job at picking your partner and then only focus on what happens if you guys work together, cultivate a good foundation, have a good moral foundation of which your relationship is built upon. Oh, sorry, that actually takes accountability and thinking and a little bit of foresight. Heaven forbid. Sorry, heaven forbid.
It really showcases a lack of deeper conversations. Um, for women to now be in the idea that, well, I didn't know you were Republican and you would vote that way, I'm divorcing you. How did you not have this conversation prior to marriage? How did, if your ideologies are
Eh,
that important to you, how did you not talk about the baseline?
yeah, isn't there like there's a small list of things that I saw like every couple needs to talk about, and that is the foundation. Like it's like the five things that every couple needs to agree on if they're going to last. One, it's like religion, politics, um, is it like parenting style or something like that, and there was a couple other things. But basically, like if you guys don't agree on at least like four out of those five things, you're not going to last. You guys are too fundamentally different. And the only reason why you guys got together is because your private parts went, hey, this person looks good. Let's have good genetics together.
It can work not agreeing. You just have to accept the fact that you're not going to agree instead of your ideology is supreme. It'll never. That's when it will fail because my wife believes mostly Christian beliefs and I'm pagan. We don't have to agree on that.
Mhm.
But it's because we value each other more than the opinion of our beliefs.
Well, a big thing is, especially like the political side, like the left leaning views versus the right leaning views. There's been cases in California where the father will get all of his rights or his children stripped away from him because he didn't agree with the transition, and that's what like the mom was pushing. And so something even like even as important as that needs to be discussed. Like, hey, what happens if one of our kid turns out to be a little more, hey, are you good? Like, are you cool with that? Are you not cool with that? I mean, if you're gonna have kids with this person, those are the kinds of conversations you need to think about.
In Michigan, the father has no legal rights from birth, even if he signs the birth certificate and does all the stuff he's supposed to. He has zero
Mhm.
rights over the mother. You have to physically go into court and file papers to have equal custody while married.
Wow. Yeah, I know Illinois is. I mean, you know the situation with my son. His mom can keep him from me all she wants, and I have to be the one to make sure I'm all set, good to go, lawyered up, and dish out all this cash. I'm like, life still happens. I don't have thousands of dollars just sitting around extra on top of everything else to get a lawyer. And I still get called the deadbeat. Oh, why didn't you get a lawyer then? Why didn't you get a lawyer then? Because I was still dealing with a whole bunch of other things. Like, why wasn't this a shared thing by default? Why do I have to go out of my way? Not just a little bit, but completely out of my way to try to hunt down my own son.
So, not to cut that topic off, but let's get back to the original. Why men might not be willing to commit to the next level.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the fact that sometimes, a lot of the times, women aren't willing to treat their men like they are wife material. Well, I'm not gonna make you a lunch. Like, why would I do that? Yeah, I'm not your wife yet.
Oh my gosh, I hate that.
It's
I'm not gonna pay any of your bills. I'm not your dad. Like Uno reverse card it.
every time we go into a relationship, we go in trying to prove, I'm the man, I'm the one, I've got you. Look what I can do for you. Like from the time we get into a relationship, it's constantly proving for us. But like a woman feels like nowadays, and I'm saying this for a specific reason because like my wife has never played this game with me. So I know it's not all women, but like women, there's women out there who believe that like you don't deserve anything better than the very basics of a relationship until you commit to something more. But you're not going to show me that you're worth something more until I commit to it, which tells me you're not going to advance forward until I can see something better.
Right, which basically has the same logical ideology as you need to give me a job as a surgeon before I start acting like a surgeon instead of, hey, I'm going to go through, all this work and effort to show you, hey, I'm a great surgeon. You should make me a surgeon. You just need to assume that I'm going to be a good surgeon before I show you any of the work or anything up front. You just need to make me a surgeon because I told you I'm going to be a good surgeon.
A little extreme, but yes.
Well, there has to be a little bit of gravity to it. This isn't this who you spend the rest of your life with, especially as men, because we have so much more to lose just looking at the numbers wise. We have more to lose. And it's something like I constantly, I go back and forth with, and my wife and I, we've had conversations about this too, is, majority of divorces statistically are started by women. And a lot of people will go, yeah, because the infidelity and that. No, actually, geniuses, before you want to start running your damn mouth, financial reasons is actually one of the biggest causes for divorce. Not so much infidelity. And a lot of financial reasons come from lack of communication and or support. When women feel like their whole safety bubble is going to implode, they dip because it's no longer secure and safe for them. Can you blame them? To an extent, not really. I get it. But if you're married, it's for better or for worse, for rich or for poorer. And that's why, gentlemen, it's really hard, especially like if you lose your job, you need to make sure like you got it. You're on it. Like you know what's going on next. You know what's happening next. You don't miss a beat because the last thing your wife wants to see is like, yeah, I lost my job. She's like, what are you going to do about it? And you go, I don't know. Subconsciously, she's already trying to figure out what to do. That should never be a thought in her head.
If you ain't got a plan, she'll make one, and it probably won't include you.
Yeah, and that's a sad truth. But that's a responsibility that we take on. That's a responsibility that we accept, right? If we want to step into that role, we need to be ready to handle that role and all the good and bad that come about it. So logically speaking, it's not. It doesn't work for us. It just doesn't make sense. Regardless of the papers or not, I chose my wife. Before her, before God, before anyone, I chose my wife. That's it. What women need to understand with that Facebook post is, oh, if you didn't know in 3 years, then I'm going to go find someone that you're going to waste 3 years of your relationship. Granted, we know no other context. It could have been 3 years of BS. It could have been 3 years that were just absolutely amazing. But what y'all don't realize is, and when I say y'all, I mean the female population, is that we have to be ready for that level of commitment because a lot of times it's very hard to find a woman that will help grow with us and help us grow. A lot of times I see men get married and then they stop. Their ambitions stop. Maybe they stop going to the gym, they stop hanging out with their friends, whatever. We need to be ready. Maybe we aren't financially ready. Because guess what? If we get married, all of your debt is now mine. We share financial responsibility. We share moral and legal responsibility. If I'm not there yet as a person and you force that on me, why are you going to hinder our future? Hey, just wait. I'm still trying to come up in this company right now. It wouldn't be fair to you to commit to you if I can't be around as much as you need me to be right now. Right now, we're good. Right now, we're in a relationship. Right? I'm not going anywhere. You said you're not going anywhere. Why don't we just kind of let this be for a second while I get myself up, while I get myself ready, and then when I'm finally able to give you the attention and financial support and security and whatever that you deserve, then we can tie that knot. I'll sign whatever papers you want me to sign. That is the most logical decision. What she hears is, hey, I don't got time for you right now. And I don't want you a part of what I'm doing. So I'm just going to keep you around because you're a nice lay. Meanwhile, after I get up, I'm going to get rid of you. That's what they hear. And I'm sorry, but that could be the furthest from the truth, at least from my perspective. Now, if you're dating, I hate the terminology, but if you're dating a low value man, yes, he will use you until he gets better, and then he will dump you on the wayside, and you're an idiot for staying. But those signs and character traits should already be proven and prevalent at the first beginning signs of dating. If you're 3 years in and you still don't know the kind of man that you're dating, your relationship sucks. Do better.
I think that's kind of like the third talking point on the subject matter, because there's obviously, like we talked about, the men that they don't have a legal standpoint to feel like it's worth it. There's the men who feel like the women are not exhibiting characteristics that make them wife material, and there's also the men who feel like I got to get things in order first. Like I have to have us figured out on a baseline of I can make sure we work before we move forward on that.
Mhm. Yeah, and this is something I've had to explain to my wife too. Is like, I'm still building. Like I'm still building. You need to have a little patience and grace with me while I'm building my structure again. Like I had to start over again, especially since I've been sober. It's like starting over my life. Like so, I'm starting from ground up. I've made it a very long way, and she knows. Like she's very good, but sometimes she gets lonely, and she needs that little bit of encouragement. I'm like, I'm being there as much as I can right now. But just understand, I got to make sure that our family is good, not for the next month, not for the next year, because I'm with you. I need to make sure we're good for the next 10, 20 years. We got some grandbabies, making sure our kids are good. I'm making sure that we are set. And I am a hustler and I'm a grinder, which sucks because she never got to see that part of me until recently. But I've always been like this. I've always been I want more. I need more. It's not materialistic. I just have a primal drive inside of me. And that's what a lot of ladies need to understand too is like, if you're with a growing man, you need to be able to handle a growing man. And that means he's going to want to work. He's going to want to hustle. He will, if you support him, he will give you the world and he will make sure you will never go without. And he will do everything in his power to make you happy. But with that being said, he's, unless he works from home, but even if he does work from home, he needs to get stuff done. I love spending time with my wife and I love our private time, our cuddle time, whatever, but it drives me crazy sometimes. Not saying that I don't ever want that. I'm not someone that likes to sit down. I don't like to veg out on the couch all day long. And with women's hormonal their hormonal issues, with the hormonal cycles that they go through, some days that's what they need. They need to sit down for like an entire week and not move or exist. Cool. But I need to make sure that I give us the security and provision and protection to allow you to be able to do that when you need to do it. My wife can take all the mental health days that she needs or wants or naps or whatever. It is my job to make sure that I give her the liberty to do that when she needs to. But in turn, she needs to be able to let me do what I do best. And that's go out in the world, conquer, provide, and be that good leader and mentor that I am.
Do you think the reason why most men feel like they always got to be working towards something is because when they take the time to not be engaged in something, they don't like the, the their own voice in their head and what it says to them?
I think that is definitely a reason. I think that is definitely a reason, especially because growing up as men, we are constantly told, we need to do this, you need to do that. No one is coming to save you. You need to handle your stuff. Because guess what? At the end of the day, it's just you. So when we just have to sit, we feel like we're already falling behind. I understand because I've been that way too. but also I definitely think in a normal, healthy, testosterone filled male, that primal drive to conquer and achieve brings us a level of fulfillment that nothing else could ever have. And that fulfillment doesn't have to be in monetary gain. It could be in milestones in your relationship. It can be milestones in your children's lives. It can be something that you accomplish with your brother. It can be something that you accomplish at work. It can be something that you accomplish in a hobby of yours. But I always tell men to really get, if they really want to find that true fulfillment in life, find something that utilizes both your mind and your hands at the exact same time and have a goal in mind that you can achieve, but also aim to surpass. Because if you hit that goal, okay, you're done. That's it. And you're gonna sit around like, okay, now what? I'm bored now. What do we do? No, I set that goal, but guess what? Right before I hit that goal, I already set another goal on top of that. And that's another podcast topic that we can talk about at another time because I can go down a tangent for that for days. But I think a big thing too, and this seems to be a really common trend that we keep going back and forth with, is the dichotomy between men and women. A lot of the issues come down to the fact that we fail to realize that we think differently. And it's that level of neglect and miscommunication that often leads to conversations like this. Oh, he hasn't proposed to me in 3 years, so I'm just going to leave and I'm going to find my worth. Meanwhile, for all we know, that man has been great. He found this girl and he's like, cool, I ain't ready yet, but I'm going to work my behind off and get set and ready. Meanwhile, I know we're good. I know we're not going anywhere, but I want to be able to provide her the life that she lives in and deserves it. If the ring and the papers is all she wants, cool. I'm going to make sure I'm set so I can make that happen. Instead, he gets you didn't do it on my time, so you and piss off. Ow.
And
And granted, this is me giving him the benefit of the doubt. Because if he is a POS and is stringing her along, girl, you deserve every last little bit of that because you just got strung along for 3 years and it took you that long to figure it out.
and that's the fourth type of situation that comes out of this is the men who hold on to women just to have the security of a relationship while doing whatever they want to do in life.
Yeah. Um, don't do that ever. If don't ever feel like you need to be in a relationship. Focus on you. Guys, if you haven't found that person that just makes you click and supports you, whatever, stay single. Get your freaking grind on. Make sure you have a solid group of support with the boys. Get your physical fitness and get every aspect in check. And you will notice as you start to level up yourself, the quality of women that you will be able to attract also level up with you. You're going to have a lot more self-respect for yourself, self-respect, because these low-hanging fruit, they're going to come your way and then you'll be like, I like you. You can provide security. You can provide this. You can provide that. And you're going to be like, I'm good. I got all this myself. I'm good. But that woman that's going to match that energy says, "Hey, I see what you got. Do this for protect and provide for me, and watch me help you multiply it. Watch how fast that guy marries that woman." What?
Honestly, I think that men are just so more complex than what people want to believe. And if you allow them to behave like children, they'll behave like children. If you allow them to grow and expand, then they'll grow beyond measures. With we always seek validation in everything we do, and we always want someone to guide our decisions so that we know that we're serving something outside of our own wants. It it takes a lot for somebody to allow a man to be like the type that leeches on relationships for the sanctity of his own wants. And those type of men should be shunned by society and corrected by stronger men for their relational understanding.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's actually really huge. Like, I think women have this mentality in a general speak, because again, we have to be very careful and walk that line, because someone's going to be like, that's not me. Shut up, Karen. Sit down. I don't care. I have seen this mentality show up again and again and again. My God. And I think it has to do with some deep rooted daddy issues and stuff like that, which could be another topic that we can go into later. But they get the, but I can fix him. Shut up. No, you can't. You ain't Jesus. Let Jesus take care of what Jesus needs to take care of. You worry about your damn self. That's it. Stop pretending you can fix everyone. I've been there and it sucks and it fails every dang time. You can't fix them. You pray for them. You don't fix them. So, with them having a little more self respect and stop being like, you know what? If you can't help your damn self at least a little bit or show that you're trying to, I'm going to do myself over here. You go over there, handle your business. I'll pray for you. I'll love you from a distance. You know, having that level of self respect while also having men that step up and check their friends that are trying to do that and that exhibit those poor qualities will start to wean those men out of society too. Because right now, everyone is just going completely unchecked on both sides of the spectrum. Not just men, not just women, but both of them.
Yeah, that level of men holding men accountable type of society that we used to promote needs to come back.
Mm-hmm. So, with the original question, right? He hasn't proposed to me in 3 years. I'm going to drop him. How about y'all have a conversation before you guys even get together of, hey, this is what I'm looking for. You know, is this does this plan work with your plan as well? If so, awesome. Then when that time comes, you're like, hey, I thought this was the plan, and he goes, nah. You go, okay. Now that we've already had a predetermined discussion about this, now we can go our separate ways because that it didn't work out unless there was like some existential crisis or something. But I think nowadays what it's coming down to is there's so much hookup culture where people are like they start hooking up, then they catch feelings, and then nothing was actually ever planned or a part of the plan or talked about. And now, 2.5 years later, they're like, so, are we gonna? What are we? Are we doing this? Because it's a superficial relationship because it started off superficial, and then they wonder why. They catch the feelings, and the next thing you know, they're getting married off of those superficial, feelings, and then they wonder why their marriage is horrible, or there is infidelity, or there is resentment, or because everything was up here. That's how you guys formed. That's how you guys stayed. For some reason, someone thought it was a great idea to solidify that, and then you're wondering why you're having issues in the marriage.
You know why that conversation never takes place, right?
Because men don't have the balls to initiate it.
No, well, it's not just that. Yeah, sure, that's a flip of the coin, but the other side is that women don't want to talk about the ideas of marriage with men because they want men to know when they're ready and want it to be on the same time as them already. Like they want to be surprised by the you're ready at the same time as me. They want the romance of it. So if they talk about it, the romance of it's gone because now it's logical.
Oh, you mean the spontaneous? It's like, hey, I know we met at a bar 4 years ago, and your parents really like my parents, and will you marry me? I think we should do this without any prior conversation whatsoever about anything.
Yeah. which is the most common of what you'll see because they want that spontaneity, that romantic love.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not how it works. I think like that was a big reason why I think my wife and I had such a we have issues just like any other couple, but we're able to overcome it a lot easier because we've had so many, and I mean so many hard fundamental conversations that we know exactly like where we lie, what's going on, and why. But in turn, we had to go through a lot, right? We had to have those hard conversations. We had to overcome that adversity, and we've come out of it like, hey, sometimes it's gonna suck, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's gonna be great. At the end of the day, I got you, even though you're pissing me off right now. I still got you. Because at the end of the day, like we just have something that a lot of people don't understand because they don't. They don't know the conversations that were had behind closed doors. They don't know the times where she wanted to wring my neck in and I wanted to speak my feelings to her in a strong tone. But it's all right, I'm pissing you off. You're pissing me off. Let's go grab food because we're probably both hungry. And then we're going to talk. Like the whole conversation of, I've heard this before too. It's been 8 years, 10 years, and he still has. Okay, at what point, at what conversation does that go? Okay, what are we really doing here? Right? At some point, who's going to have the level of self respect to be like, all right, dude, here's what we talked about. Here's what the plan was. You hadn't followed that plan the past year and a half. Um, Not to put any pressure on you, but this is what I wanted in life, and you're not giving me that, so I'm gonna go find it. That is a reasonable conversation to have.
I think honestly, this whole topic can be they can still maintain the romance of it if they talked about it early on. Hey, what kind of timeline are
Mhm.
you looking for? And that way, when they got up to the point of, actually taking action, they don't have to ruin it with the second conversation. They've already had the pre-conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it too is unmet or unspoken expectations too. And again, this ideology of, you have to get married, you have to do this. I'm sorry, but I don't have to do jack diddly squat. If in case you didn't realize it, because again, at the very beginning of the conversation, you don't have to get married, right? My wife and I got married because logically speaking, it was the smartest decision and the smartest thing to do for my family, which again is also a part of the reason why we didn't tell anyone about it. Because I knew they weren't going to understand. I knew there was going to be lashback. Well, guess what? Sucks to suck. Doesn't affect you whatsoever. I'm a grown man. Let me do what I do. Let me do what I need to do. I don't care. Um, but if you guys are just a normal couple doing normal couple things, and there is no logical reason for you to get the government involved, what the hell's the point? Because all you're going to do is put pressure on the man, then he's going to get resentful, thinking you're a gold digging bitch. And the next thing you know, that or like even the conversation of like a prenup. I've seen so many videos or conversations where it's like my fiance asked me for a prenup. How dare he? Why would if you plan on staying? Why do you care? If you plan on thick and thin, through and through, whatever, why do you care? Because what if he built something that took him 20 years, and you're not just coming in? Well, guess what? He also wants to protect what he had, and if it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Shush.
And there's two talking points to a prenup. One is that it only protects assets that are prior to the marriage, meaning things that already existed before you came into the picture. And two, 75% of the time, prenups are thrown out in court. So if you really have a problem with signing a prenup, that speaks a lot to the volume of your character.
Mm-hmm. It was funny. I saw a really funny video from a divorce lawyer that his wife, um, he made his wife sign a prenuptial agreement that for every 10 pounds she gained during the marriage, she lost $10,000 in alimony. And that was found out after the divorce was finalized, and she lost a lot. And the wife was extremely salty about it, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, she's so superficial." No, he set the standard. He set the standard. Don't let yourself go, and you can have everything in the world. We need to stay attracted to each other. We need to take care of ourselves. Logically speaking, why wouldn't you want to?
Everybody has their expectations of a relationship and who they're with. If you set a guideline up front and the other person accepts it, it's on you for accepting it.
A lot of it too is the like
Did you call
you
me?
see all the movies and you see music and everything like that. It and I hate to say it, a lot of women's expectations come from fantasies. This is not the Notebook. These are not Disney movies. Stop thinking that it's going to turn out that way. Guess what? Here's reality. It is what it is. And so, or like, oh my gosh, some of the books, or what is it? 50 Shades of Grey. They fantasize that. Guess what? It is called a fantasy for a reason. Do the best that you can. But at the end of the day, I I don't know what to tell you.
You ever look at those movies too, the ones that the women's mostly fantasize, like The Notebook? You ever actually looked at it?
Yeah, I asked my wife that question the other day. I'm like, hey, here's a question for your because she has a women's group. I'm like, why is everything that all the movies and everything that women seem to fantasize over is like has something to do with infidelity or leaving their partner or whatever? And I don't think she quite understood where I was going with that. Um, that's weird. My life was like, oh, that's so weird. I've never seen that before. My life was like, oh, we detected inactivity in your life, so swipe
Oh,
this to make
weird.
sure you're still there. I'm talking and moving. That's weird. But I don't think my wife heard me the way that I might have said it because she was like, probably because it's relatable. And I wanted to be like, so there's someone back in your hometown that I need to worry about that you're going to leave me for around Christmas time because he builds trees for disabled people, like whatever your typical Christmas Hallmark movie is. Like,
I think the biggest like concept in all those movies is like she moved on to another relationship, but then comes back and wants to be stolen away from that new relationship because she still has feelings for the old relationship.
yeah. Or how the husband is a uneducated ding dong that gets absolutely zero respect for the wife, and all the women are like, "Ah, yeah, see, my husband is exactly like that." Okay, well, why are you just reinforcing the ideology that your husband is a useless idiot? And if he is like that, well, I'm sorry, maybe you should have picked a better dude. Either way, you're screwing yourself. Like, when we'll get mad, oh, he watches the games on Sundays and he drinks beer with his buddies. Did he do that before he met you? Yeah. What do you think was going to change? Right? Sometimes there should always be change and progression in a man's life, but hell, if he's been doing that for the past 10 years and then you come along, and guys, same thing. Same thing. The only way people change on a fundamental or moral basis, right, is one, Jesus Christ. All right, we need some Jesus. But there are certain psychological things that have to take place in order for a person to truly change at their core. And and again, a lot of my viewpoints do come from faith, and you will see a person's change by the fruit that their tree bears. Meaning, if they are truly changing on a fundamental level, their life and their actions will show it. Right? That's how you know that it's not just talk. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? You know, that was a big conversation my wife and I had when she decided to take me back was, how do I know? How am I going to know? I'm tired of hearing you say this. I'm tired of hearing you say that. I'm like, right now, you don't know. Right now, you don't know. But I'm going to tell you right now, you will. I'm going to tell you right now, you will. Sure as hell, almost a full year later, I have completely 180 my life and have grown exponentially to the point now where I made it apparent that she ain't got nothing to say. Because if it is, it's all based on her feelings and not reality. Sorry, baby, I love you. But the truth is, I've been the poster child for fucking husbands. Pardon my language, but I like proving people wrong a lot more than I like giving into my own self satisfaction. Sorry.
The love note
Had
that
to
we
get that
don't
one
know if
out
it'll
there.
ever be heard.
I think my wife listens to this on occasion. If she does, here's the thing: she'll only receive this depending on how her mood is at that time. You know what I mean? So there's a 50-50 chance that she'll actually take that in the way that I want it or that I like said it. And then the other 50% might be that time of the month. And she takes that the complete opposite way of being like the only reason why he did change was so he can prove me wrong. And then she's mad at me. But in reality, it's still a win because I still changed. Like there's always a way to twist that around where I'm the bad guy. But we'll see.
Being the bad guy is kind of a staple because sometimes we end up being the bad guy just so they can feel better about whatever they're going through.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah, I mean, oh, that would be a good topic to get into too at one point. Why do dads or the husbands always have to take the fall?
That one is, yeah,
That's a hard one. That's a hard one.
that would take
But I
actual
mean,
thought.
in a sense, it's like that's the sacrifice that husbands make. And again, okay, here's how I can tie it to the original question, ladies. Here's the thing that you guys need to realize: the sheer level of sacrifice that if you got a good man, you want to make him a husband. The sacrifice that we have to go through that you will never ever have to understand or feel. Hopefully, right, is when we take on that role. Anything that goes wrong, it is on us to handle and take care of. Or we have to understand that we have to be the enforcers in the family. You know, everyone gets to love mom, even though dad is the one making things. Oh, I'm white. I'm really white. Why is I hate this camera thing? Um, even though dad's
I
the
can see
one
you
that's
mentioning
making
it.
it happen. Yeah. But and again, but we're happy to do it because it means everyone in our household gets to be happy, and we're happy because everyone else is happy as a result of what we're doing. That's what they don't realize is that we need to make sure, hey, if I'm going to choose you, excuse me, to live the rest of my life with, I need, wow, excuse me, I need to make sure that I can count on you to help me do what I need to do so that way I can make everyone else happy and better. And that's my reward. God says it's better to be single and alone. Those are not the exact words. I forgot what I'm horrible at reciting scripture. I just know what the Bible says. But it's better to be single and alone than to be in a house with a nagging wife. And there's a lot of naggers. There's a lot
He's
of
okay.
naggers.
Yeah, yeah. So honestly, if you're in the I'm still waiting category, you need to figure out what is that? Did it just do the same thing to me?
I don't know.
I have to put a puzzle
What
piece
happened?
into a picture.
Ah, see?
So
Told you.
weird. Maybe because I'm getting no
It doesn't
interaction,
think
like no
it
comments
doesn't
or
think
anything like that.
I don't know, but TikTok wants to make sure we're alive.
TikTok just broke my thought. I had okay. So if you're in the I'm not getting the response I wanted, I want marriage now, and you're not getting that. you need to figure out which category of the 4 discussed today you're in, and whether or not it's something that should be pursued further, or if you need to cut your ties and find someone who's going to commit.
100%. 100%. I think we kind of beat this topic to death now. But all right, Chaz, thank you so much. We'll join again next week, if not a little earlier. But thank you as always, gentlemen. Like, share, subscribe to the podcast. I've been trying to stay on top of it. I've been getting my butt kicked at work and everything else going on, but I'm doing the best that I can right now. Stay positive, stay motivated, and stay uncrowned.